A curious, almost contradictory principle seems to shape human relationships, one not born from logic or reason, but from the darker recesses of the psyche. You have likely experienced it, even if you could not identify it, the magnetic pull between an empath's light and the silent resentment of those who secretly long to dim it. Why does the soul that offers heals and perceives with an open heart so often find itself near those unsettled by it? Why is the one who feels most profoundly often misunderstood, envied, or quietly disliked? This is neither coincidence nor simple fate, but an alchemical truth embedded within the unconscious interplay between self and other. Have you noticed this magnetic pull in your own life? Comment 1. If you felt your empathy attract both admiration and discomfort. Comment 2. If you've rarely noticed people reacting strongly to your presence. Empathy is far more than a personality trait. It is an expression of what I call the self-encompassing all-psychic material, both conscious and unconscious. A truly empathic person does more than sense feelings or read subtle, energetic cues. They open themselves as a channel for the collective unconscious to express itself. This luminosity does not arise from effort, but from the openness itself, which radiates an unspoken field of awareness, felt by others beyond words. Yet such brightness comes at a price. Wherever light exists, the shadow grows more defined. You may have sensed it. Your quiet presence shifts the atmosphere when you enter a room. Some are drawn to you like a sacred flame, while others respond with faint irritation or veiled disdain. They might smile outwardly, yet their energy withdraws. They may seem to admire you, but inwardly they foster resentment. What fuels this concealed hostility? Why does your simple existence provoke a discomfort they cannot fully explain? The answer rests in the shadow archetype, an inner darkness each person carries, holding all they refuse to acknowledge or accept. Meeting an empath means facing not only a comforting light, but also the uneasy contrast between who they are and who they wish to be. The empath's light, its authenticity and openness, illuminates the hidden wounds and buried unhealed aspects within the other person. This is the root of resentment. It seldom concerns you personally. Rather, it is about the reflection you provide, what you stir within them. You serve as a mirror, revealing both their yearning for wholeness and their fear of their repressed darkness. I have often compared the meeting of two personalities to the contact of two chemicals. If there is a reaction, both change. The empath transforms others merely through their presence. Yet transformation is not always embraced by those unprepared to confront their shadow. To them, your light can feel like a quiet accusation. They may feel smaller in your presence, not from your actions, but because your authenticity exposes the false masks they hide behind. It is as if their inner voice murmurs, "You are not living your truth." Rather than heed it, they project that unease onto you, resenting you for embodying what they cannot yet face: vulnerability and awakeness. A deeper psychological process is also involved, both intriguing and perilous. The empath frequently embodies the wounded healer archetype. Their depth of feeling exists not because life has been kind, but because they have endured pain, sometimes leaving scars unseen. Your light is not the result of innocence, but of a long passage through personal darkness. On a subconscious level, others sense you possess a key, an understanding of suffering, change, and renewal. But rather than learn from you, Many try to drain or diminish your energy. Here lies the paradox. The gift that defines you also makes you a target. Imagine the sun. It provides life warmth and clarity. Yet not all greet it gladly. For some, its brilliance is too harsh, too revealing. They prefer the shelter of shadows that conceal truth. Similarly to those unprepared to be truly seen, an empath's energy can seem intrusive. They might label you overly sensitive or emotional, but what they actually mean is that your sensitivity reveals what they strive to hide. This is the hidden resentment they are simultaneously attracted to and threatened by your light. They wish to enjoy the fire's warmth, yet recoil from the illumination it inevitably brings. In my dream analysis work, I often see symbols that reflect this pattern. A dream may feature the luminous child, a radiant figure embodying purity and truth, yet also a shadow figure, the envious sibling, the dark counterpart, or the trickster striving to snuff out that light. This reflects the timeless theme of the light bearer and the shadow, the hero, and the antagonist. In daily life, this may manifest in relationships where you feel depleted, misunderstood, or subtly undermined. This is not due to personal fault or imperfection, but because you embody that radiant archetype. Wherever such light appears, the shadow inevitably emerges to confront it. I encourage you to reflect. Have you observed how certain individuals appear inexplicably annoyed by your kindness, as if they view your generosity as a silent judgment upon them? This is an act of projection. They perceive in you what they cannot tolerate within themselves. They may dislike their own inability to feel deeply connect genuinely, or live without the shield of pretense. Thus, instead of confronting this discomfort, they cast it onto you. You are cast as too much, too eager, too intense. Yet in truth, their rejection is not of you, but of the mirror you present to their innermost being. To exist as an empath is to tread the fine line between light and darkness. This sensitivity is at once your power and your weakness. It enables you to perceive the unspoken and sense the invisible emotional currents flowing beneath daily life. Yet, it also ensures you will meet resistance. While some will cherish your warmth, others will resent your brilliance. This is not a personal failing. It is the unconscious mind's natural reaction when stirred by an awakening force. The solution is not to diminish your light for others' comfort, but to grasp the underlying alchemy. When you detect resentment in someone's gaze, recognize it not as condemnation, but as evidence of their inner turmoil. Here is something that might surprise you. The ones who most resent your light are often those who secretly long for it. They are attracted to you because you awaken memories of a part of themselves they have abandoned. You awaken in them a craving for authenticity, freedom, and emotional richness. Yet fearing their own wounds, they transform that yearning into anger, envy, or antagonism. This explains why many empaths enter relationships, romantic, familial, or professional, where they are simultaneously admired and quietly sabotaged. The unaware empath often internalizes this pattern, wondering, "What did I do wrong?" Why am I treated this way when my only wish is for harmony? Yet the truth is, this is not about your actions, but about your very being. The unconscious is not governed by reason. It does not evaluate with fairness or logic. When someone's shadow is triggered, they rarely stop to wonder, is this resentment mine, or am I projecting it? Instead, they simply experience the feeling often without understanding its source. And you, as the empath, are left bewildered, sensing an unspoken yet constant tension. This is the unseen price of tuning into the subtle layers of reality. You perceive what others would rather avoid. You take in their silent hostility, muted judgments, restrained smiles, and covert comments. At times, you may even start to believe these perceptions, wondering if your light is excessive, whether you should make yourself smaller, speak less, and feel less. Yet, this is exactly the trap laid by the unexamined unconscious. If you diminish yourself, you betray who you are. If you suppress your light, you cut yourself off from the essence that keeps you whole. Let us explore more deeply why empaths draw in those who secretly resent their light. In analytical psychology, relationships often serve as the stage where the unconscious enacts its most powerful dramas. When two individuals connect, it is not only their conscious selves that engage their unconscious minds. Archetypes and concealed complexes also begin to interact in a subtle dance. The empath frequently embodies the archetype of the anima or animus, the inner feminine or masculine essence, symbolizing emotional depth, intuition, and soulful connection. When another person meets this archetype externally embodied in an empath, they are drawn toward it as it feels like a lost fragment of their own soul. However, if they have denied that aspect within themselves, they respond with an instinctive hostility. Your very being seems to force them to confront what they have hidden away, and many are not ready for that challenge. Another important pattern is the archetype of the martyr. Many empaths unconsciously adopt the role of the sufferer enduring pain so that others might feel relief. This does not stem from a desire to be a victim, but from conditioning, often since childhood, that teaches love must be earned through self-sacrifice. You may have been raised in circumstances where your sensitivity was both valued and criticized, admired for your care, yet reproached for feeling too deeply. Gradually, you learned to put others' emotions above your own, to give despite exhaustion, and to endure pain quietly. This shapes a pattern the unconscious easily detects. You become a container for the projections of others, both positive and negative. While they admire your warmth, they also deposit their shadows onto you. People may resent your light because it reflects their own darkness back to them, yet they simultaneously rely on you to ease that darkness. This is the paradox many empaths face. Picture a dream where you hold a candle in a pitch-black room surrounded by figures, some reaching for your warmth, others trying to extinguish your flame. This is no mere dream, but a metaphor for your life's journey. The candle represents your empathy inner light, an ability to see beyond appearances. The figures symbolize those you meet. Some view your light as hope, others as a threat. You, the dreamer, must choose whether to protect that flame or allow it to fade under the pressure of others' resentment. This is the recurring question life poses to empaths. It is not about becoming tough or emotionally detached that would only make you something you are not. It is about cultivating awareness so you can hold the candle without being consumed by the shadows it exposes. Recognize that the resentment directed at you is not personal, but archetypal part of an enduring pattern through history. In myth, religion, and legend, lightbringers have always been misunderstood, envied, and even persecuted. Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to gift humanity, was punished without end. Christ, embodying compassion and truth, was crucified by those unable to bear his light. Prophets, healers, and visionaries have forever stood at the boundary between acceptance and rejection. Your life may not hold such monumental stakes, but the principle remains: when you embody light, you expose darkness, and not everyone will welcome such exposure. I share this not to instill fear, but to awaken awareness. An empath who grasps this truth stops taking resentment personally. Instead, resentment becomes a signpost, a clue that your presence has stirred something deep in another's unconscious. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and begin asking, "What is this showing me about them and about myself?" For even as an empath, you too carry your own shadow. At times, you may feel a quiet superiority in your sensitivity, as if your capacity to feel makes you more pure or wise than others. This is a subtle but dangerous temptation, as it can foster unconscious arrogance that others instinctively detect and resent. The essential safeguard is humility, holding your light not as a weapon or a trophy, but as an authentic extension of your true self. Let us turn inward now. Why do empaths attract such difficult dynamics? It is not solely due to what you are, but also what you believe. Deep within, many empaths hold the unconscious conviction that they must fix others and bear responsibility for healing the world's wounds. Although seemingly noble, this belief becomes a beacon for those unwilling to take ownership of their own healing. They gravitate toward you like moths to a flame, expecting you to carry their burdens, absorb their pain, and demand nothing in return. But this is not genuine empathy, it is self-erasure. Real empathy does not demand the sacrifice of your core self. Instead, it calls for the ability to witness and understand without abandoning your own being. Once you equate your light with the obligation to heal everyone, you fall into relationships where resentment grows both theirs and yours. One image often comes to mind when considering this pattern: a garden. The empath is like a lush garden filled with fragrant flowers, a place of beauty and nourishment. People come to this garden, some to admire it, some to take from it, and some sadly to trample it out of envy. While the garden cannot choose who arrives, it can choose how it is cared for. You must learn to tend your inner garden, building boundaries like a fence, not to exclude everyone, but to ensure only those who honor your light may enter. This is not selfishness, but self-respect. Without it, your light fades, not because it is stolen, but because it was given away without discernment. How do you protect your inner garden? Comment 1 if you've learned to set boundaries without guilt. Comment 2 if you still struggle to keep your energy safe from those who drain it. This may seem abstract, so let's make it tangible. Recall a moment when someone's resentment cut through you like a blade. Perhaps they ridiculed your sensitivity, invalidated your feelings, or sought to belittle you. How did you respond? Did you retreat? Did you apologize for your very nature? Or did you stand firm, quietly, yet resolutely, understanding that their reaction was not truly about you? This is the empath's true test to remain anchored in your truth, without hardening your heart to recognize the shadow, without being consumed by it. The shadow others carry is not your foe, nor is it your burden to bear. Your purpose is not to ensure everyone's comfort. If your light disturbs someone, that is their journey to navigate, you are not meant to diminish yourself for their ease. In fact, your presence might be the very spark that prompts their awakening. Although you may never witness the outcome, the unconscious often works in mysterious ways, revealing its transformations only after years or even decades. You might never learn how your light has altered another's path, yet trust that it has. The life of an empath often carries a deep loneliness, the ache of being seen, yet not truly understood, of being cherished for your light, but not for your full humanity. Many may be drawn to your presence because your warmth makes them feel safe, yet few stop to ask who protects the protector, who heals the healer. With your open heart, you may end up surrounded by those who endlessly take, never recognizing that the well from which they drink is not bottomless. In quiet moments, you may ask yourself, why am I so exhausted? Why does my giving not always bring true connection? This, too, is an expression of hidden resentment. Those who resent your light will often, without realizing it, attempt to take it, believing that possessing what you have will make them whole. Yet wholeness cannot be borrowed. It must be discovered from within. The minds of those who resent your light are often troubled by what I call the shadow ideal, an internalized vision of what they long to be, kind, compassionate, free, but have rejected within themselves. When they witness you living with such authenticity, their shadow ideal is awakened, and instead of saying, "Teach me," their response becomes, "How dare you?" This is a peculiar form of envy, a painful recognition that they remain confined behind walls of fear, while you, despite your flaws, dare to live unmasked. This is why empaths so often become targets for subtle emotional manipulation, passive-aggressive remarks, and the kind of rejection that leaves lasting wounds on the spirit. You must understand that these reactions are not truly directed at you, but stem from the inner conflict the other person is unwilling to confront. You might wonder, why me? Why do I keep attracting such situations? The reason is both simple and deep. Your light is not passive. It draws people in. On a subconscious level, others sense that you hold a key they have misplaced. Some will meet you with gratitude, some with need, and others with hostility. Yet all are responding to the same thing, your connection to the self, the living symbol of completeness. This is why being an empath is akin to being a psychological alchemist. You are continuously transforming others' raw emotions, such as fear, anger, and grief, into forms that can be understood and healed. However, this process becomes risky if done without awareness. Without mindfulness, you may take on what does not belong to you. Mistake their shadow for your own, and begin believing that you are the problem, that your sensitivity is a curse instead of a gift. Picture yourself as a mirror reflecting not only the beauty of others, but also their concealed wounds. Some will appreciate this reflection, while others will hate it. Yet the mirror is never responsible for the image it shows. For empaths, learning this truth is one of the greatest challenges. You cannot claim the projections that others place on you. If they resent your light, it is because it reveals something they are unprepared to confront. This is not your responsibility. Your role is to stay clear and true, keeping your inner mirror polished so it reflects with compassion and without distortion. Dreams often represent this through symbols. For example, you may dream of walking through a dark forest carrying a lantern while shadowy figures appear, some reaching for your light, others trying to extinguish it. The lantern represents your consciousness, the delicate flame of awareness that shines into the unconscious. These figures are not true enemies, but parts of the self that remain unintegrated. In daily life, such aspects are often projected onto others. When someone resents your light, they are battling their own inner darkness, making you both a perceived threat and an unintended teacher. Those who feel deeply may be tempted to shrink in response to resentment, thinking that if they are less bright and less open, others will feel less threatened. But this diminishes your true nature. Your light is not meant as a weapon, but it is also not meant to be concealed. It is the natural glow of a soul that has endured trials and emerged whole. Humility should not be mistaken for self-erasure. True humility means shining without insisting on being noticed, loving without expecting love in return, and giving without abandoning your calling. Do you find it hard to stay true to your light when faced with resentment? Comment 1 if you found ways to remain authentic despite pushback. Comment 2 if you often feel tempted to dim your light for others' comfort. The empath's journey is challenging as it demands living in the tension between opposites, holding both light and shadow, love and pain, connection and solitude. Yet it is a profoundly meaningful path. In my experience, those who feel the most deeply are often called to the work of individuation, the process of achieving wholeness by uniting all aspects of the psyche. Empaths are especially equipped for this task as they are already skilled in navigating the flows of emotion and intuition. However, individuation also requires setting firm boundaries and claiming the right to exist as you are unapologetically. Without this, you may become stuck in patterns of being both admired and resented, giving continuously until depleted. In myths and stories, the archetype of the healer is rarely someone without wounds. Rather, it is someone who has endured pain and learned to transform that suffering into wisdom. This is what makes your light so powerful. It has been forged through suffering, through the places where you have bled, wept, and endured. Others do not witness this journey. They see only the radiance. That radiance can stir up their own unhealed wounds. They may resent you, not for being perfect, but because your survival highlights their unrecognized strength. As if asking, "How can you shine when I remain in darkness?" This is not yours to fix, but rather something to observe, with both compassion and detachment. I encourage you to ask, what does my light symbolize for those who resent me? Which archetype does it stir in them? Is it the inner child, yearning for love that was never given? The shadow self that rejects vulnerability? Or the hidden potential they are afraid to express? Once you see this clearly, you stop taking their reactions personally. You begin to recognize the deeper workings, the unconscious dance of projections and archetypes. And within that awareness lies freedom. You must also consider your own shadow, for even empaths have one. Perhaps yours is a fear of being selfish, or a dread of being perceived as unkind. Maybe you give endlessly because you fear what will happen if you stop. Would they still love you if you weren't always the one who understands, forgives, and yields? Often the resentment you draw from others mirrors the resentment you harbor toward yourself for all the times you have suppressed your needs, muted your voice, and violated your own boundaries. This is why cultivating self-awareness is essential. You must learn to recognize not only the shadows of others, but also your own. Every empath eventually reaches a sacred turning point. The realization that your light should not be expended carelessly, but nurtured like a flame that grows stronger with mindful care. You come to understand that not everyone who reaches for you is entitled to your deepest self. This is not an act of cruelty, but of discernment. For too long, you may have equated kindness with saying yes to every request, every demand, and every subtle pull on your energy. But this only leaves you hollow giving, without receiving shining, without renewal. Those who secretly resent your light will take from you until you fade, not out of malice, but because they do not know how to fuel their own inner flame. The true lesson for the empath is not to perpetuate this cycle, but to stand firm and honor the truth that your light is sacred. Living with this awareness allows you to break free from the unconscious roles of savior and victim. You are not meant to save everyone, nor to bear their pain as though it were yours. True empathy does not mean losing yourself. It means perceiving clearly, feeling deeply, and responding wisely. Compassion differs from self-sacrifice. Compassion arises from a sense of wholeness and the knowledge that each soul must confront its own shadow, while self-sacrifice often springs from wounds and the belief that you must give everything to earn love. As your awareness deepens, you more clearly perceive this difference. You start to see when another's resentment reflects their own self-hatred, and when their rejection projects their unhealed wounds. Rather than shrinking, you learn to remain still, neither fighting nor absorbing, simply standing your ground. When fully evolved, the empath takes on the archetype of the sage. The sage does not fear others' resentment, understanding it as a natural part of the soul's alchemy. They know the shadow must resist before transformation can occur. You are being invited to walk this mature path, moving beyond the need for approval and the fear of being misunderstood. When you take this step, you start noticing the hidden beauty even within difficult situations. The one who resents your light is not truly your enemy, but in an unusual way, your teacher. They reveal where your boundaries must be reinforced, where your self-concept must be sharpened, and where your own shadow still resides. I am reminded of the myth of the hero's journey, a path that every empath walks. The hero is summoned to leave the safety of the familiar and venture into the wilds of the soul. Along this journey, they encounter both friends and foes, yet it is often the adversary who delivers the most profound lessons. When confronted with resentment, you are being called to stand in your strength to hold your light, not like a delicate candle, but as a torch that resists being extinguished. This does not require hardness or defensiveness. It means embodying your essence with calm assurance, understanding that your worth is not defined by the responses of others. Your light is not meant solely for others, it is also for you. Have you ever reflected on that truth? Empaths frequently live outwardly, channeling their energy into others, while seldom offering that same warmth to themselves. Yet your soul yearns for your attention. It seeks moments of quiet in which you listen to your own heart, honoring your dreams, your needs, and even your fears. Just as others carry shadows, so do you. Within your own shadow lie valuable treasures, your hidden strength, your unrealized desires, your authentic voice. When you integrate these aspects of yourself, the resentment of others affects you less. You recognize it as a symptom of their disconnection and feel no compulsion to fix it or justify yourself. Many empaths experience a recurring symbolic dream. In it, you carry a vessel of light, maybe a lantern or a flame cradled in your hands. As you move through a dark corridor, figures appear. Some approach with reverence, others with hostility. Some try to extinguish your flame, while others attempt to take it. The dream is not truly about them. It is about you. Will you continue forward? Will you guard that light when the winds of judgment and misunderstanding blow? Will you have the courage to shine, knowing not everyone will understand? This dream mirrors your life's journey. Each encounter is another figure in that corridor, another trial of your determination. When resentment strikes, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself what is truly mine to carry and what is not. You are under no obligation to take on the shadows others cast, nor to ensure your presence makes them comfortable. In reality, the discomfort others feel is often the first stage of their awakening. Your task is not to remove that discomfort, but to stay authentic, to embody what it means to feel, to love, and to live without pretense. While this may make you a target, it also makes you a catalyst. People remember those who push them to look deeper, even if they initially resisted. It is vital to master the art of energetic boundaries. This is not about erecting walls, but about strengthening your inner core. A strong center allows you to feel deeply without being consumed, to love without losing yourself, and to give without becoming drained. Boundaries are not walls. They are the natural borders of your soul's garden. Boundaries communicate to others. This is where I end and you begin. I can support you, but I will not bear what is not mine. When you live with this clarity, resentment loses its grip on you. It becomes like a passing storm, noisy perhaps, but unable to snuff out your light. Remember this: your light requires no permission, no justification, no explanation. It is the product of your journey, of every shadow you have encountered, and every wound you have healed. In resenting it, others are in some sense recognizing its power, even if unconsciously. Let their reactions remain what they are, mirrors of their own path. Your role is simply to keep walking, to keep evolving, and to keep exploring the mystery of who you are. Ultimately, empaths attract those who secretly resent their light not because there is something flawed in them, but because they embody what is possible: authenticity, vulnerability, and wholeness, qualities that are rare in a world that values masks and facades. When people witness someone living without such masks, they are confronted with their own fear of authenticity. Some will avoid this truth, others will attack it. But those who are ready will be inspired. They will see your light and think, maybe I can shine too. I leave you with this: do not fear the resentment you encounter. It is not evidence of failure, but proof that you are shining, that your very presence is awakening something in the world. If the world resists, let it. Your mission is not to battle the darkness, but to be so wholly yourself that the darkness cannot ignore you. Stand in your light. Keep your flame aloft. Walk your soul's path with both courage and gentleness. The world needs what you bring, even if it does not always receive it warmly. In time, even those who once resented your light may recognize it not as a threat, but as a gift, a mirror of their own unrealized brilliance. Have you ever seen someone's attitude toward you change after initially resisting your light? Comment 1. If you've witnessed resentment turn into respect. Comment 2. If you've mostly seen such relationships fade away.